I just received a new pair of the Vibram Fivefingers Sprints, and I've already had a pair of classics, so I'm going to do a little comparison between the Sprint and the classic. And this is the first try. I just opened the box, and I'm going to try them on and give you an idea of what the differences are. The first thing I notice is that the fabric is a little bit thicker on the Sprints than on the classic. The classic seems very almost transparent feeling, whereas the Sprint has a much thicker fabric. It's a little bit, I don't know, more spongy. But let's try them on. I do notice that the toes are a little bit, I don't know if they're thinner. Very comfortable. And the Sprints do have a heel adjustment as well as the strap above to keep it. I feel that the difference here is they're a little bit more rigid. They have a little bit more tighter fit than the classic does. The classic is a very open feeling. The Sprint is a little bit more rigid. It has the side support, so you know, of course, you feel the strap over your foot. But it does feel very comfortable. It has a lower heel, apparently. The heel guard seems a little bit lower than on the classic. So let's see how these feel. Well, they feel very comfortable, and they will probably, in time, they will probably get a little bit looser. I do recall the same with the classics, that they were just a little bit tighter at the beginning and then they loosened up. As you'll notice that the where my tan line is for the classics, that the Sprint is a little bit higher up, so there's a little bit less fabric here, and so it opens up a little bit more, but does cover the strap area here. But very comfortable feeling, and I will take a run and some walking and continue this video a little bit and give you some more feedback. I'm on a run with the new Sprints I just received, and a couple of things I noticed after going in for a few miles is that my feet are already accustomed to the Vibram, so they feel really good as long as it's the same fit. The Sprints seem to be, according to the sizing chart and according to my experience, the same size as the classics, so they fit really well. And the thing I noticed also is we're in Arizona and it's about 107 today, midday, and with the classics I feel the heat of the asphalt and the ground, whereas with the Sprints I don't feel them as much. So it apparently has a thicker, and even when I walk over stones, it apparently feels like there's the sole is a little thicker on the Sprints. It does have a firmer feel to it. It does fit a little bit tighter, so it's all good, especially for running. Somebody just ran right through the stop sign. I'm glad I wasn't running. They feel really good, and based on this experience, I can imagine the Sprints being more well suited for running and working out, and for terrains that are a little bit more rocky. They just fit. They fit firmer, and they seem to have a thicker sole. So overall, they seem to be a more comfortable fit for working out. So we're going to go over gravel here in a little bit, and I'll show you experience on. Okay, some of the roads in our area and some of the neighborhoods have this gravel-like surface. Most of the rocks are dug into the ground from cars driving over it, but as you can see, there's still lots of rocks on the ground, and in comparison to the Classic, the Sprints really feel more comfortable over this type of surface that's more rocky or more rigid or has more unevenness to it. With the Classics, it's sometimes almost quite uncomfortable running over this path, and I haven't run for several months because of that. And so I'm testing it today with the Sprints, and I have to say that even though you do feel that there's something underneath, it's not the same. It's not the same feeling that almost brings pain. This feeling is just basically a very comfortable feeling. You know that there are rocks underneath there, but they don't sink into your feet. So this is much more comfortable, and I think it's a much more appropriate shoe for a more appropriate Vibram model for running, especially on more rugged surfaces. After my run, I'll do a little bit more feedback, and I'll be right back with you. Okay, just finished up about a 5-mile run in my new Sprint, Vibram Sprints, and some of the feedback that I'll summarize that I mentioned earlier is that they feel firmer. It's a firmer fit. It feels like they have a slightly thicker sole. When I ran over rocks and harder surfaces, I felt more comfortable. There was no pain in comparison to the Classics, which if I ran over some rocks, they would pretty much dig into my bottom of my foot, and it would be painful. With the Sprints, that's not the case. It's very comfortable and an enjoyable experience on pretty much any surface I tried. Also, in our weather here that's quite hot during the summertime, it's about 107 today, I usually feel the pavement, the heat from the pavement with my Classics, and with the Sprint, I don't. They feel comfortable just like I would normally be walking around, so that's also a benefit. So probably in summary, I would say that I prefer Sprints for working out and running, maybe some other trekking, some trail running, things like that, where you have harder surfaces and you have more surfaces that that have rocks and other uneven surfaces on them. So I definitely feel that the size is exactly like the Classic. So if whatever size you wear in the Classic, most likely you'll have the same size in the Sprint. I do probably prefer these for a workout, and the Classics just to walk around in, to travel, and just to get around day to day. I ran with these, as I mentioned, about 5 miles. On the second day that I had these, I don't recommend that if you're new to the Vibrams, to the Fivefingers. You'll probably get calluses and sores and blisters. If your feet are already accustomed to them, then you can get away with it. I don't have any discomfort at all after running 5 miles. They feel just like they did when I started, and they feel very comfortable. And maybe it looks like I'll get a little bigger tan here with these as well when I'm outside. So that's the comparison between the Classics and the Sprint. Hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next video.